Hey guys, so Sam here. I've decided I'm gonna try a little bit of a different format today. If you're watching this, you probably have already seen my Criterion video that I published. While I was making that video and researching for it, I started becoming more interested in my own collection. And I realized that a lot of the movies that I have up there, I've only seen once or twice and haven't really rewatched in a few years. So I thought it might be fun to try and do some reviews for all of them, going through the collection one by one and reviewing them, rewatching them with a new lens that I have, and see what happens. I also thought these videos would be a little bit easier to make and something I could upload in between larger projects. So this will be a little bit of experiment. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's going to be a new challenge I'm going to take on, and I hope it'll be fun. So for today's video, we're going to be focusing on the one of the first Criterions released. And well, let me clarify. With each Criterion that comes out, they always have a number on their spine indicating their release, their order release. So the one we're reviewing today has the number 2 on the spine, and it is one of the earliest Criterions ever released, and that one is going to be, if I can grab it, I don't forget where I put it, Seventh Samurai from Akira Kurosawa. Probably one of his most well-known and influential films. If you've never seen Seven Samurai, I'm going to tell you now you've seen Seven Samurai. It is often credited as one of the first action films ever made, and it's essentially been the template for some of the most popular films and popular plot lines of all time. If you've seen A Bug's Life, if you've seen The Magnificent Seven, you've seen Seven Samurai. So Seven Samurai I actually saw many years ago when I was about 15, because I received this book that was like the 100 greatest movies of all time. Seven Samurai was like 97, I think. 97, 92, somewhere up there. So I watched it, and I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything that really impressed me, and I didn't quite understand the significance of the film at the time. Cut to years later, I buy it as a Criterion. I'm excited to watch it again. Never get past the first 30 minutes for whatever reason. I think the length really daunted me, and I don't know if I was quite prepared for that, at least in terms of watching it again. But recently, for this video, I finally made it through, and I found on this rewatch, the length didn't really bother me. And I think that's one of the most impressive things about Seventh Samurai, is how it is a nearly 3.5 hour film. It's a movie that is long, and it does take its time, which is one of its main strengths, but I don't think you ever feel the length. It's never anything it's not as daunting as it seems, I guess is the main point. Because what Kurosawa has done with this film is he's made a movie that is at once sort of an artistic, poetic, grand scale of a movie, yet he's also made a crowd-pleasing, fun, entertaining movie. Something that I think still resonates to this day and shows why it's still so popular as a format. So to go into the plot, Seven Samurai takes place in medieval Japan, with this small peasant village that is consistently being attacked and raided by bandits who come by every year whenever the new harvest is done and take everything from the villagers, leaving them poor and empty-handed. And they finally had enough. They're like, okay, this is ridiculous. We have to find a way to fix this problem. And so they decide their only option is to hire a samurai. And despite being poor peddlers, they believe that there must be some good out there in the world, someone who will help them. So they go into town and somehow end up recruiting 7 samurai. All of them going in knowing that they aren't doing this for money and they aren't necessarily doing this for glory. They're just doing it because it is the right thing to do, right? It's this sense of justice that drives them. And so once the samurai arrive, they now have to start training the villagers to become warriors, while also turn the village into a fortress, trying to make it a place that can be defended. And everything I just described takes up about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours of the movie. The first hour is recruiting the samurai, is setting up the plot, setting up the characters, giving you an idea of what's happening. And so we spend a lot of time with these characters, And while all of them may not be as fully fleshed out as everybody else, you do still get attached to them. You still recognize them when you see them, you learn their names, you understand what they're there for. And of course, some of them make bigger impressions than others. There is the first samurai that they hire, who is sort of this wise, older samurai who kind of is their leader or their mentor in a sense. There is the young, hotshot one who's there to learn and really believes and is very passionate about protecting people and doing what's right. And then you have, of course, Toshiro Mifune, which I don't believe this was his first performance, but I believe this is the one that made him more of a household name. It was like this and Yojimbo, well, Sanjuro, that really made him well known. And it's clear why. Just Toshiro Mifune has this presence, he has this energy that makes him such a fascinating, endlessly entertaining character and actor to watch. He has these extreme highs and these devastating lows, and it's just such an enigmatic presence. It's insane how good he is in this movie. But along with these characters, once they arrive into the village, you realize the village itself is a character. You learn, just from the way the movie is shot, you start to remember and learn all the different little nooks and crannies, all the different houses, the layout of the village. There's just so much time spent on building up the defenses, figuring out where the different bandits will come from, basically tactics and planning that you're learning it with the samurai, and it's easy to retain a lot of it. The filmmakers do a fantastic job of establishing the area, establishing everything about it, so that you can learn and engage with it. So that when things start getting more chaotic and things go down in the last third of the film, you're not lost or confused. They're like, hey, go to the north, hey, go to the south, and you know exactly where they're going. And even if you don't know exactly where, once they show it, you're like, oh, I remember that, and remember when this happened, and whatever else. And I think that is the biggest accomplishment of the film, is how it gets you to care so much about this village and these villagers and everybody, simply because it doesn't waste any time. It's a 3.5-hour movie, and I can't think of what to cut. It's just constantly doing something, constantly showing you new characters, constantly developing and evolving things. And I think, and while all that's great, and that would have made for a very entertaining, well-made movie, what makes Seven Samurai a classic and what has made it stand the test of time is the fact that Kurosawa didn't just make a blockbuster, right? Kurosawa took what he is known for, and he made a film that is at once a crowd pleaser, yet is also something with real artistic merit and something to say. Because what Kurosawa does is he sets up a world, he sets up a village that isn't all good. These samurai aren't, and even these villagers aren't all good people. They've done some bad stuff. They've had some bad stuff in their past. And when the film reveals it, it doesn't necessarily tell you, hey, this is good, this is bad, or hey, these villagers aren't worth defending anymore. It kind of leaves, it's more bringing up the point and then letting the characters stew in it, deciding if this is what they want to keep doing, deciding if this is worth defending at that point. And when it reaches the end, which I'll get into spoilers here for at this point 60-year-old film, 70-year-old film, most of the samurai are dead. 4 samurai are dead. Only 3 are left. And the younger samurai, who started to have an affair with one of the villagers, she sort of shuns him and turns away from him in his life. The villagers go on about their day. They aren't really able to repay the samurai, and it's really, they've gained nothing at the end of the day. They've simply staved off this one attack, but can they really come back and do it again? And was it really worth it? It's almost like justice and glory and all of that is great. It's great to say, it's great to talk about, it's great to yell in the heat of battle. But what's it worth? What's the real cost? What's the real human life cost of these spectacles, of these big wars, of these big ideas? And I feel like that's what's so special about Seven Samurai, is how it's able to get at the human aspect of this event, of this story. how ultimately it is about the people, not about the spectacle. And again, that's why it resonates so well, because it is, again, a very human story, humans put against impossible odds. Um, I mean, of course, it's Akira Kurosawa. It's beautifully shot. There's some amazing cinematography moments, some amazing crowd shots, and it's just a gorgeous looking movie that even with this restoration that's a little old at this point, it still looks amazing. It's still a powerful film with powerful imagery. And I think it's a fantastic movie. It's foundational, you know. So many movies and so many genres wouldn't exist without this film. It's essentially required viewing at a certain point, you know. But then again, I think Kurosawa's entire catalog is required viewing. I don't know if there's a film in there that isn't worth watching or worth analyzing. You could teach an entire class just using his films, and Seven Samurai is no exception. It's an absolutely fantastic film, well worth your time. And if you're new to Criterion, it's not a bad place to start. Again, it's very foundational. It's a good way to start up your Criterion collection. And I will say this film is fantastic when it comes to special features. I mean, you have two different commentary tracks, both from people who are experts in Japanese film and just in film in general. You have multiple documentaries, one of which is just, it's Akira Kurosawa talking about Seven Samurai and talking about his filmmaking career. One of which, how long is it? It's a 2-hour conversation between Akira Kurosawa and another Japanese director. I'm going to butcher this name, Nagasa Oshima. And I mean, it's just jam-packed full of special features. It comes with a thick booklet. I could show it to you, but I think I'd ruin this horrible shot I already have. But it's just a fantastic addition from Criterion. It's a fantastic movie, well worth your time. And again, if you don't know how to start your collection, you're totally new to this, like I was those many years ago, it really is not a bad place to start. It's one of the best starting points you can find. Yeah, so that's the first video done. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like Seven Samurai? Have you seen it? What's your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? I will come back with another review. This time it's going to be another Kurosawa film, actually. We're going to be talking about High and Low, which is a personal favorite of mine. Well, thank you all for watching, and hope to see you back here soon.